In this video, we are going to learn retry and circuit breaker patterns and how we can use retry and circuit breaker pattern with together in a real world example. So here you can see the image on the slide. The client requested to API gateway in order to call internal microservices, and we have implemented retry pattern on this communication. You can see in here there is the implementation of retry pattern. But what if the internal microservice is totally down and it can't be ready for a long time? For that reason, if we continue to repeat the retries to unresponsive service, this will consume the resource such as memory, thread, and database connection, and it can cause irrelevant failures for the rest of the application. So this is dangerous to follow the retry pattern if the downstream microservice is totally down. So for that reason, we can't use retry pattern for indefinite time, and to solve this problem, we have applied the circuit breaker pattern over the retry pattern. As you can see that in here, after a 10 request which got failed from the downstream microservices, we applied the circuit breaker pattern, and at that stage the circuit breakers opens and no longer it allows the calls to the internal microservice from the API gateway. It is directly returned the previous error to the client application. That means circuit breaker pattern applied in the API gateway when calling internal microservices. In circuit breaker pattern, we have a circuit check time which is the 30 seconds. So that means after 30 seconds, API gateway try to call microservices again, and if that call succeed, the circuit close and the service is once again available for the traffic. But the circuit breaker pattern allows one call for every 30 seconds in order to check state of the shopping cart. If the state still unavailable, the circuit breaker will be closed and not redirect the request to the downstream microservices. But if the shopping cart is responsive, then circuit closes and the service is once again available to the traffic to the downstream microservices. So the circuit breaker pattern is prevent broken communication from repeatedly trying to send requests that is mostly to fail. We set the predefined number of failed calls and time periods of these fails. If the fails happen in that time interval, then it blocks all the traffic to the service. After that, it is periodically try to call the target service in order to determine it's up or down. If the service call succeed, then close the circuit and continue the accepting request again. Here you can see another illustration that we can use retry and circuit breaker pattern with together. If you compare with the retry pattern only retry an operation in the exceptional cause since it will get the succeed. But the circuit breaker pattern is prevent broken communication from repeatedly trying to send requests that is mostly to fail. So we are going to apply both retry and circuit breaker pattern in our microservice architecture. As you can see the image, when the client send the request, this will be accommodate for the retry mechanism, and after that, if the downstream microservices is not responding, we should apply the circuit breaker pattern in order to avoid some performance problems. And we check the communication. Since the communication is succeed from the target microservices, we will allow the traffic redirection from the client application.